Okay, Dream Think Doers, strap in, my friends. We are going to have so much fun today. Have you ever had one of those conversations where you just go, oh my gosh, this is so perfectly timed? Because I can tell you that's what this conversation is all about. As I've been doing my research, I'm like, this is so perfectly timed. I can tell you that because we are talking with Dr. Julia Garcia. She is freaking cool, guys. She is a psychologist, behavioral researcher, and she is the author of a brand new book called The 5 Habits of Hope. You guys are going to need to grab this. Trust me, you will thank yourself. Over the past 2 decades, Dr. J has been doing important work, helping people from all walks of life move through pain, burnout, and trauma and tap into something deeper. And what I appreciate about Julia is she doesn't just bring the science, which she does. She's a nerd like us. She loves talking the science, but she also brings like deep life experience, raw honesty, and real tools for moving forward when things feel heavy. She's worked with students, educators, CEOs, entire communities, and she creates space for healing, reconnection, and most importantly, authentic hope. Think about that. How much is hope needed right now? I just think it's so needed right now. That's why I'm so excited for this conversation. So let's get to it. Dr. J, welcome to Dream Think Do.
What's up? Thank you so much for having me. That was such a great intro. I feel like you just nailed everything and we could be done already.
Well,
Like
I
that
don't
was
know
great.
about that, but
I'm feeling
I'm
all stoked.
definitely excited. I emailed you yesterday as I was doing more research. I'm like, I can't wait. Let's do this now.
I
So I'm so excited for this conversation because I will say, obviously talked with a lot of different authors, and there's times where I'm like, ooh, what I'm experiencing is title envy. Like your book is so great. It's so well designed. It's beautiful, but I'm like, that title in this season, hope is so needed. So I love this. I love this. So I wish we could have 4 hours. So let's go ahead and dive in. I know, you're really on a mission to spread real hope, authentic hope, like hope in a way that's not just an emotion,
mm-hmm.
but it's a habit. But
Yeah.
before we go there, let's talk about kind of you're concerned. You want to see people live with more hope, but like one of the things you talk about is toxic positivity.
Yeah.
Toxic positivity. Why? What's got you like on a bandwagon about like getting people to know what real positivity and true hope is versus toxic positivity?
Yeah, I study culture a lot, and what I've seen and heard and felt myself, like you can't tell me to believe anything, to do anything. Like you're not going to convince me of anything with your positivity, your happiness, your joy. Like I need something real. And with that means there's no hope without honesty. And I think the false positivity, what I say it does is it's not allowing us to have feelings processed. It's
Yeah.
really filtering just the good feelings. And for me, I believe feelings are neutral. And so it's
Yep.
what we do with them
Yeah.
that really creates who we are because I was angry for so long, for so
Yeah.
many years. And I thought anger was bad. I thought I should be quiet with
Yeah.
my anger.
Yep.
I thought that it wasn't pretty the way
Right.
I was angry, but I had things to be angry about. I lost people I loved to drug overdoses. I had people I loved in jail. Had people I love I had to go visit them in rehab so many times. Like I had reasons to be angry. I was angry at injustices I experienced firsthand or saw others go
Yeah.
through. So I'm sorry we're getting real quick. I call it getting
No, that's
rated
what
R,
it's
but
all about.
you
That's
got
what
me
Dream Think
fired
Do.
up. You
Yeah,
got me
that's
fired up from
exactly.
the jump.
Well,
So yeah.
that's what I'm talking about. That's what I do appreciate, and that's one of the reasons why I was so excited to have you on because I think you're exactly right. I think, of course, we want to see people have more positivity in the world. There's no doubt. We need. There's negative forces at hand here, and we need to have people have grounded, true hope, right? But at the same time, you're exactly right. I think so often the pendulum towards positivity has swung too far. And so people do feel ashamed. People feel
Mhm,
like they need to hide what would be considered negative emotions. But you're
mhm,
exactly right. The emotions, we talk about this in Dream Think Do all the time, are like indicators on the dashboard. And it's like, hey, if the anger indicator light is on, we don't need to bury that. We need to say why, what's going on there, or even the shame indicator light comes on, or the anxiety indicator light comes on. It's like, okay, don't just try to cover that up or look away. So what's going on in there? So I just so appreciate that. Plus, I appreciate how real you've been about your journey. Your journey has not been easy.
It was not a straight line. There's a lot of loops and circles and flips, back flips,
Right.
side flips. Yeah, I went on what I call feeling detours most of my life, where I did anything other than feel. I would deny my feelings. I'd distract myself from it. Maybe
Yeah.
you doom scroll. Maybe that's what you'd be doing with your feelings.
Hello.
I was defensive about my feelings. I would do anything other than feel. And so my
Yeah.
journey of figuring out hope is a habit. Like, just like hopelessness, we don't wake up one day and are just hopeless. We can wake up one day and feel depression. That's different. And those are two separate things, but we don't just wake up and want to give up on our jobs. Like, there was a process to that. And so I believe there's a process back to hope. Hope is a habit. And so when we build processes to navigate our feelings, then we can always have a path back to hope, however squiggly it may look.
Yep, that's exactly right. I love that. Well, then let's just dive right into some of that because you identify in the book, you talk about that hope is an emotion. It is something
Mhm.
we can feel, but
Yes.
it's also a habit. It's a muscle that we can build, right? So
Mhm.
so tell us a little bit about how you landed on that because we've been talking about feelings and the
Mhm.
importance of feelings and the importance to, feel the feels, address those feelings. But at the same time, you at some point figured out it's hope is not just a feeling.
Yes, I'm going to actually share with you some of the stories that inspired the book, if that's
Yeah.
okay.
Love it.
Okay, so these are real handwritten
Look
anonymous
at that.
stories that I've
Yeah.
collected all over the country. So it
Yep.
could be your mom or your daughter or your
Yep.
best friend that I'm
Yep.
reading.
Right.
So they completed some prompts, and here's someone I just pulled a random one. It says, I was struggling with pressure to be perfect or really good with everything I do. I was feeling sad. I was needing to know I was enough. I stayed silent because I didn't want anyone to see my flaws. I am hopeful because of my boys. I actually have four just at the top of this pile. I have hundreds of thousands of
Yeah.
these. And
That's
all
amazing.
four of these talk about pressure to be a better mom, a better everything, to manage everything, a pressure to keep up with everything, insecurities, anxiety. And these stories, I would hear these very vulnerable, real stories in handwriting form. And also, people would share their stories with me after my events, during my events. So I
Yeah.
travel around and
Yep.
I work with people in different capacities, mostly as a keynote speaker or workshops. It was shocking how many people would share that they were hopeless. And I wanted to know, how are so many people feeling hopeless and so many people are feeling lonely? And why are we struggling in silence about it? What is it that people needed? So I went on this journey of really trying to discover, okay, if we feel this way, what are things that help us navigate back to hopefulness? And a lot of it was having a process, an emotional process. So it came back to a feeling framework. The habits of hope are guiding us to have ways to navigate our feelings so that we can enjoy the relationships we have and be present with the people we love and be passionate about the things that we do and show up fully with freedom.
I love that. And it's so needed. It's like I was talking about in the intro. Like there are times where I've read a book and it's like this book was needed at all times, but it just seems like to your point, it just seems divinely timed, to be perfectly honest. It just seems like the perfect time, kind of for such a time as this.
Mm,
And what I love about it is it is hope filled, right? Like there's great stories. Your story is inspiring, but it's also tactical. And so I love this because sadly I can say we have hundreds of thousands of listeners for Dream Think Do, and so I'm guessing that everyone is they've either experienced hopelessness firsthand or they know someone right now that's experiencing it. Because let's be honest, a lot of people who are experiencing hopelessness
mhm.
don't always look it.
No,
They
they do
could
not.
just be fine on the outside, but they are hurting
Mhm.
on the inside. So whether somebody's listening to this podcast while they're driving to work or mowing the lawn or out on a bike or at the gym, what's I know we've got 5 habits in the book and we may not be able to get to all 5 today, but walk us through if somebody's wanting to help someone else get back to hope or they're needing it for themselves, what's one of those habits and how do we get started?
Well, let's first take the pressure off of
Yeah.
having answers or advice, and let's shift to like holding space. And hope doesn't solve problems. So what it does is it activates the part of our brain that helps us solve them, that helps us be collaborative, that helps us be agents and advocate alongside the people we love and care about, that helps us be patient with the person at the
Yeah.
Thanksgiving dinner table that is saying stuff that they probably shouldn't be saying.
Yeah.
And it allows us to still see the beauty in the life and the love about them. It allows us to continue to be creative in emotional regulation and what that could look like so that we can continue to establish relationships and also pursue professional and creative goals that we have. So I would say the first thing is like, let's take the pressure off
Yeah.
because there's so much pressure on us. And when people are hurting, we're worried. And that feeling of not being in control of their health and well being can, if you're like me, it can destroy you. Like I've had a lot of family members who have struggled with addiction. And the fear I had for their journey, will they be alive when I come home?
Yeah.
That worry, it ate away at me. And so it starts with a place of like taking that pressure off that I will solve the problems
Yeah.
and how can I be a part of their process. And as you said earlier, meeting them where they're at, and that's showing up fully present myself. And the more I work on becoming the kind of person who I can attach values to. So say, for example, let me take this back. I value being a good friend. Well, then what would require me to be a good friend? Maybe it's being patient. Maybe it's active listening. I think a huge one is staying curious about the other person. So if someone is struggling, it can just be staying curious that, hey, maybe it's not going to show up the way that it would for you. And maybe let's ask some open-ended questions. I shared this earlier. Maybe you can have, or I didn't share this, but one thing I would say is my friends and I have like text codes where you can send different colors of things or different GIFs if you need to. You can send a song, but it's like this emergency, like, hey, I need help and I don't want to talk, or like, I
911.
need
Yeah,
some touching.
exactly.
Yes,
Exactly. You just need to know what I'm feeling. You don't need to know all the
yes.
specifics. Let's go. I love that. Yeah.
And it's not under like I think that we can I think we want to be understood a lot, and I know I do, but it's not really, it's kind of removing that expectation that someone will understand us or we need to understand them, and it's holding that space and staying curious for what that space can look like and how it can be shaped, because that's the value in relationships. We relinquish expectations and have faith in what they can be uniquely become when it's not just maybe what we desire, but together what we can build in that relationship. So that
So
was a
good.
roundabout way of saying,
No,
I think I shared a few practicals, but let me
I
know
love
if I
it. No,
missed that question
I
completely and
love
we can go
so
back.
many. Yeah, so many things of what you just said. I think just even you dropped like 20 pounds of gold in one phrase in that hope doesn't solve the problem. Hope creates space for the problem to be solved. Right. And I think that's huge. I think you're exactly right. So often, especially in today's day and age where just it seems like everything needs to happen so fast, I think there is just tremendous pressure to feel like we have to be the solution, whether it's as leaders, as entrepreneurs, as parents, as friends, that we have to be the solution. But you're exactly right to stop and pause and be fully in the moment and to create space for a solution to come, not necessarily that you have to bring it. But it does have to start with going in, being open, being curious, being present. Like that's huge. That's huge. I love that. I love that. Let's go after one of the other habits and to get into some specifics because I do want to bring this around because and you just mentioned it, the relative at the dinner table, because when this goes live, when this episode goes live, it's going to be the week of Thanksgiving.
Happy
And
Thanksgiving.
happy Thanksgiving, everyone. So if you're in the United States, we celebrate Thanksgiving this week. If you're not in the United States, just know we're grateful for you. But this time of year, no matter what you believe, no matter what you do, no matter where you are in the world, for a lot of people, We are entering into a time where we're going to see relatives, we're going to be together with family, all of those things, or maybe even not, but it's the holiday season. And I think hope is wildly important at all times, but I think it's even more important around the holidays. So let's talk about one other of the habits, and then we're going to bring it around to equip people specifically for the holidays. How does that sound? I just want to
Yeah,
hook
let's
people.
do it.
I want to hook people like,
Let's
oh
do it.
boy, yeah, because we're getting specific. So what's one of the other habits
Okay,
that you
habits.
outlined? Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna throw in habit number 2, okay? So if
Boy,
you are
this is one of
writing
my
this
favorites. I ain't gonna
down,
lie. This is one of my favorites, but
this
yes,
is then that tells me a lot about you
it
already, okay?
does.
So habit number 2 is really, really difficult to do. It is so hard to do, especially in this day and age, and I will just give a little context. Y'all know the background you're in. You all know what social media does. You know what doom scrolling is. You know what consuming and not contributing to culture is doing to our society. You know. But ultimately, we are a generation of a lot of loneliness. There's a lot of loneliness, and the holidays in particular can enhance and heighten that feeling of that loneliness that feels like a hole that just drags you into, and you're surrounded or you're online, but you're feeling alone. And you know what that feels like when you go there. And it's a feeling where if you stay in that loop of thoughts, it can grow into a feeling of hopelessness.
Yep, it goes dark quick. Yeah.
Yes. And so I think habit number 2 is something I want to encourage us all into. And I want us to know and remember, and I'm reminding myself as I'm saying that we can be afraid and be brave at the same time. And the biggest thing is people think I'm this way. I'm afraid. I'm insecure. I'm anxious. I'm not good at talking to people. Whatever the blank is. But we have to expand and look at what it took to get to where we are in our life and the unique things that you've gone through to get you to where you are. You have been brave. You maybe have been compassionate to others, maybe to yourself. And so it's reminding yourself before I want to set this habit up, because this habit is really about identifying your internal inherent worth.
Yeah.
Because what we do in habit number 2 is we take an emotional risk. And that means risk telling someone you care about them, to asking for a boundary or
Yep.
for some support. It's
Yep.
identifying things you need, being able to take that emotional risk to let someone in, to let someone see you. And I say it's one thing to be a good friend to others, but would you like it if no one ever opened up to you? What kind of friendship would that really be? What kind of relationship would we really be in? If this conversation always stayed on the surface in this podcast, then what kind of conversation are we really having, right? It's being able to take that risk when you feel safe and ready to do so. But I think if I could encourage our generation to take one of these habits really serious, it would be emotional risk taking, because what's at stake is a generation withholding talents, gifts, creativity, love, compassion, ideas, friendships, and hope. Because when we withhold everything. We don't just withhold the good, we withhold the bad and the good. There's every part of us. So if we can break that habit of withholding and take a risk, and here's the thing, if you take an emotional risk and it does not turn out the way you want, that person on the other end of your Thanksgiving table does not receive the risk you were giving out, the
Right.
love you are trying to dish out, they are dishing it right back in hate or something. You will still, even if we don't get the outcome we want, I say surrender the outcome. It's not about the outcome. It's about who you're becoming, and you're becoming the brave person I believe you are created to be.
Come on. That is beautiful. I love the release the outcome so that you can become who you're meant to be. Because that's what we talk about with Dream Think Do. The dreaming, put here to put big dreams, to do big dreams,
Yes.
to think better. That's what we're always talking about, but to do more of what you're put on the planet to do. And I love that. And I do appreciate what you talk about in the book. I mean, you set up this habit number 2 as risk. And at first I'm like, oh boy, are we talking bungee jumping and parachuting? Like all that kind of stuff, right? And it might be that once in a
I have gone
while.
skydiving 3 times, but that's not it.
That ain't it. Like it could be related, right? But I love this because it is so important. And let's just bring it right back to the holidays already. It is sometimes it's inviting that relative, maybe who hasn't ever invited you to something, or it's risking telling somebody that you care about them that you do, even maybe they haven't, reciprocated, all those things. But I love what you're talking about is it is living to your value as opposed to bending to someone else's, right? Like
Yes.
I have a good friend of mine. We meet every Friday at 6 a.m. for coffee. And we've been doing it for, I think we figured out 18 years. And one of the things we talk about is there are times where we get frustrated when it doesn't seem like the world is living by our values, not necessarily politically or anything, but like just like we don't get treated the way that we want to be treated, or something happened in our organization or in our family or whatever, and it didn't go the way that we would want it to. We just always bring it back to say, hey, live to your standard, right? And invite other people's into that, but love everybody where they're at. And it's like,
Yeah,
but that takes risk. And
it
I
does.
that is so important.
And I
So important.
You're reminding me of what I often say, even amongst my own friend group and family group. It's alignment, right?
Yeah. Right.
It's and it's constantly coming back to alignment. So I say, like, when your car is unaligned, you feel it,
Yeah.
right?
It's
And
exactly right. Yeah.
and it's just coming back to like, hey, I want my car to be aligned.
Right.
And so predetermining these preset values that you have and making sure that that's tied to your worth, and you continue to invest in your value and your worth. But yeah, it's just bringing it back to alignment.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. It's funny because we're looking at we won't go down this rabbit trail, but I'm looking for an older truck for a number of different
So
reasons.
is my husband.
There we go. Come on.
My
Well,
gosh.
we'll
What
do a
is it?
separate call
Yeah.
about this. But it was interesting because I like alignment is a really big deal because especially on older trucks, if a
Hmm.
truck has been out of alignment, it wears on the frame. It wears on the tires, right? There, like you can see a truck that's been out of alignment for a number of years, and you're so right. That is such the ultimate metaphor for us humans too, because you can see we can feel it immediately when we're out of alignment. But boy, when we're out of alignment for a long time, what's interesting is it causes wear. We get used to
Yep.
that feeling,
We could go in a whole
right?
direction
But
with
it's like,
that.
oh boy, but the
The chaos
wear
is
on our
comforting.
bodies, the
Hmm.
wear on our souls.
Hmm.
Come on, that's the second book right there.
Yeah, when the pain becomes something we're so used to that
Yeah.
health is foreign.
Yeah.
And we don't like it. If something's healthy for us, we don't like it because we're so used to the unhealthy that it starts to taste good. I used this analogy with a teenager once just on the fly. I was like, "So if I put mustard in your coffee right now, you would hate it. I hope you would hate it. I
I
hate
hope
mustard
you
and I
hate
love
it.
coffee, so I would hate this."
Exactly.
But then I'm like, after a
Sacrilege. Yeah.
while, after what, 16, 18 years you said you've been getting
Yeah.
coffee
Right.
on time. If
Yeah.
after 16 years of the mustard in the coffee, you might start to crave the coffee.
Right.
You might crave the chaos. You might crave the
Yep.
distraction, all of those things.
That's your normal, right?
Yes.
Like that's your normal. Yep.
Habits of hope are really about rewiring the neural pathways in our mind. It's about breaking up those thought cycles so that we can reshape the neural pathways in our mind so that we can continue to see what is possible, what we can discover, what we're capable of. We can stay in alignment on the journey because all these other things are trying to take us out, take us off the journey. And we're just trying to get realigned.
So good. Okay, so I'm gonna give people the cheat sheet because I'm gonna expect that they're gonna go buy this book. But the habits are to reflect, risk, release, receive, and repurpose. And we could go for hours on each of those. You do in the book. Did I mention the book is beautifully designed too? Come on, like
Judge a book
amazing,
by
right?
its cover, please,
Yeah,
on
right.
this
Like
one.
get after it because it is beautiful. You will be proud if you give this as a gift. Do it. The reason why I bring all five up is I want to just say, hey, here's our toolbox. Let's play with the toolbox. But you just nailed something, and it makes sense. You're a psychologist, you're a behavioral scientist, you understand how the brain works. But you're exactly right. As people start to initiate or try for new habits, one of the first things our brain does, especially if we've been out of alignment for a while, is to go, wait, we need to go back to normal, even though normal ain't so heavy. right? And it's not healthy, right? So if you're thinking about, these 5 habits, maybe somebody starts to lean into risk, but their brain's like, whoa, 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 this feels uncomfortable. What's a way that we can kind of coax our brain, maybe start to create some new neural pathways with some of these new habits? What's a way that we can kind of guide our thinking to not only get into alignment, but to stay in alignment?
Yeah, that is a wonderful question and a great setup. So, every habit in the book is also accompanied by a feeling framework prompt. So, for example, if we were to take the risk one, the feeling prompt is I was, or the feeling framework prompt is I was feeling, and complete that statement. So,
Yeah.
I think that will be a great start to help us pause long enough to identify something that we might be running from. Maybe the feeling is I'm feeling shame. There is power in being able to label a feeling. You're already ahead of like 90% of our population who does not want to know what they feel. Okay.
Right.
They're going to just,
Exactly. I just feel it. I don't want to know
yes,
what it
I'm
is.
just going
Yeah.
to do amazing things and be really productive and be very busy, but I'm never going to feel anything real and deal with it.
Right.
Okay. So you're already like, just know, have grace in whatever stage you're at, and you can come back to this if you're not there yet. You can even say, I don't know how I feel, because that's again interrupting the cycle, because your pattern might be, I feel this, don't feel this. So anytime you can interrupt a thought cycle that has us feeling in a way that is starting that process of getting down to that dark, I call it the dark space, we want to keep interrupting it. So, one of the most powerful ways, if you don't take anything else from what I'm saying, take this one word with you, maybe. Because there's this idea that you have to be really positive or have a ton of hope for it to have a power in your life, for it to help you in your business, to help you in your relationships, to help you in your sense of self, and in your discovery of what's possible. And that's not true. You just have to have a little mustard seed, and that is enough. And it begins with maybe. Maybe I can love myself. Maybe I can go back to school. Maybe I can start that business idea I've been putting on the back burner. Maybe I can forgive that person. Maybe it interrupts the thought cycle that makes us perceive something's definitive, that it's an
Yep.
end, that
Yep.
that's the end of the story. And when we put maybe, we interrupt it, and that creates momentum. And momentum creates motion. And then before you know it, we're actually on a different trajectory than the one that's taking us to that dark place. We're in a place that's taking us to freedom and
Yep.
peace.
I love that. That's the maybe neuro pathways, right? Like we
New
those
book title.
new book title. Come on, that's what I'm talking about. Oh my gosh, that's so good. I love phrases that we can just keep in our back pocket. I even love the the prompt of having it be in a past, like using past tense to be able
Yeah,
to say,
it's
I
very
was
intentional about that.
feeling, right? I was feeling fear. I was feeling shame. Let's dig into that, right? To be able to put it in the past, but then to be
Hmm.
able to say, okay, maybe I can start to feel this, or maybe I can start to do this, or maybe I can risk in this way, just allows you to explore that new thought. And I could even, as you were saying it, I could feel hope enter the room. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? That's why I love this. So tactical. Okay. So again, the habits: reflect, risk, release, receive, repurpose. We're moving into the holidays. When you think about our 5 habits, what do you think? I know all of them will be wildly helpful around the holidays and the rest of the year and all of that. But when you think about that toolbox and you think about the holiday get togethers, family time, cooking, meetings, all this kind of parties, all that, what's one that you'd love Dream Think Doers to make sure they've got that tool ready to go, especially for the holidays?
All right, so I had this training that I did where I worked with an entire community of people. I mean, I worked with educators, principals, teachers, social workers, cafeteria aides, the librarians, everybody in the community.
Everybody. I love
Everybody's
it.
getting
Everybody's
the
in. Let's get
training,
some hope up
okay?
in here.
Everyone's
Yes.
getting hope. And then I invite the principal of the entire community to come up on stage afterwards, and I said, "Okay, we just did this full day. Everyone's feeling all the feels, everyone's
Yep.
in celebration mode. What can your community do to support you?" And it was just a very long pause, and
Yeah.
I'm like, "I'll wait."
Yeah.
And I just
I love how you say, I can wait.
I'll
I'm
wait
good.
all day. It's your time, you're paying. Okay, I'll wait. And after a while, we had to work through it, but what we discovered was after all of that training all day long, they wanted it for everybody else and they believed it for everybody else, but they still couldn't receive. They couldn't receive. And if we can't receive, we have to come from a place of being able to be present. So we got to let go of enough to be able to let something in. Let somebody's love in, let gratitude for ourselves in and compassion, whatever that is. But for the holidays, if you can be present enough, even maybe challenge yourself to be, and I don't want to say this because I think the phone is a bad thing, but it is something that takes us away from a present moment. So if you can challenge yourself for 30 minutes on top of every hour to put it somewhere that you cannot reach it or hear it, then just force yourself to be present so that you can receive. So if we can, because we're in a spirit of gratitude, being grateful, but I think people are very grateful. I think it's receiving love that is so hard for this generation in this
Yep.
time in life.
Yep. Oh boy, I couldn't agree more. Plus, I think that one's specific to Dream Think Doers because much like your principal, almost all the Dream Think Doers, they are the first one to offer help, right?
Mhm.
Dream Think Doer hears about somebody else's dream. They're often going to say, how can I help? I love that dream. How can I help? Who do you need to know? Who do you need to meet? What do where can I plug in? Right? We're the
Yeah.
first ones to offer help. But those people also, and not always because you're getting us the needed help that we need, right? But it is the givers are often the last to receive.
Yes.
And oftentimes it's because of habit or choice, or maybe they even got hurt
Mhm. It's
receiving
a
in the
protective
past,
factor.
right? Or maybe they even hoped to receive and didn't get it, right? Like,
Mhm.
and I think that is such an important thing to be able to receive. And I think I really like how you define that in the book, but also like I get, and I've heard you again. I always say I do enough research to just stay on this side of the stalking laws, but I just love a lot of the interviews that you've done, and I've heard you reference this that sometimes when we receive, it may not be the exact way that we would hope
Mhm.
to get that love or the exact way we'd hope encouragement would come in, but still to be able to receive what does come in, like the good stuff that does come in. Maybe they didn't word it exactly how you would have worded it or delivered it exactly the way you'd hoped, but there is still something good to receive, right? So it's that
Yeah.
holding loosely but still being open and receiving.
And also trusting that you are enough so that no matter what the outcome is, what you have is enough right now.
Yeah.
You do have people who love you. You do have tools that have gotten you to where you're at. Maybe you have a faith practice. Maybe you have other mindset tools you can tap in. Maybe you have a support system you got on speed dial, but also recognizing that no matter that outcome, again, even if you do get hurt, that I like to say, I could just sum it up this way. When I was in deep research about addiction, the idea of never doing a drug or drinking again really was difficult for people to conceive. Imagine never having espresso again. Like it for me, this is really, really hard.
I
Okay.
don't want to explain.
We don't want to go
No,
there.
I'm
Okay. We
just,
don't
can
want
we
to feel
pick
our
a
feelings.
different example?
Yes,
Come
there
on.
was other I'm triggering
You're
us.
hurting me here.
But I want you
So
to
that's
take
an extreme
something.
example. I'll go
Oh
with
yes.
you. Okay, I can. All right, let's go.
Something you love.
Maybe I can imagine that.
So no more coffee for the rest of your life. If I say never again,
Yeah,
that is daunting. That is a
right.
lot. And it's a lot, again, pressure. It's a lot of
Yeah,
pressure to be the kind of person who can never drink coffee again, to be able to resist the temptation all of the time, to be the person to be able to never do it again is the difficult part. So what I say is it's not about not feeling hopeless ever again. That's not the goal. The goal isn't to be like to of course I want people to not get to that place, but I'm not going to tell you that's your goal because that is really daunting. That's a lot of pressure. But what we can say is if I get into that dark place again, y'all, I'm not going to stay there that long. because I got tools now. I've got a process to process my feelings. So if I get rejected from an emotional risk, if I am being very present and someone is not mutually being that with me and I'm disappointed again, I can process that. I can still choose to keep becoming the person I want to become, regardless of what is externally happening around me, because I'm equipping myself with tools. So no matter if or when I go into that dark place, if I'm there, I'm not going to stay there as long as I did before. And I also am willing to tap in my support system now, too. I call it sharing the struggle and the strength, because I'm practicing the habit of receiving, and I'll receive that
Yeah.
support.
That's huge. But again, there's so much gold in that because I love the goal, and I am so with you. I'm a recovering worrier is one of my issues, right? And like I grew up like really good at worrying at an early age. And so I would worry myself sick for like weeks at a
Mm,
time, like confound the doctor's level, worry and sickness and all those things. And then I got better at hiding it. I didn't get better at handling it,
mm,
gotten a lot better at handling it, but I'm far from perfect, right? So my goal is to say, all right, when I'm tempted to worry or when I go into full blown worry mode, it's not eliminating worry and completely. It's how quickly can I get back to my optimum state? And it
yeah.
used to be weeks, right? And then I would worry about the shame of experiencing it and I'm never going to get out of this. But now, oftentimes, it's days, sometimes hours, sometimes minutes, right? So I love that goal of saying, all right, we're not going to say forever and ever and ever, but we're
Yeah.
going to say for today, I'm going
Yeah.
to do my best, right? And I love that. I had Paul Young, William Paul Young, who wrote The Shack. I'm not sure if you've ever read it, but
Yes.
just an incredible book. And he's been on a number of times. And one of the things he talks about is whenever he goes into negative thinking or whenever he starts to move into, being tempted to worry, he realizes almost always he's future tripping. He's imagining a future, right? And I think you're exactly right. We are so tempted to go, all right, what are we trying to eliminate? Whether it's hopelessness or addiction, to be able to say, will I never have that or will I never feel that again? Well, that's too big a thing. But to bring it back to, can I do it today? Can I
Mhm.
do it? More importantly, can I do it in this moment? It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I can probably
Maybe.
do it in this maybe, right? And I love that. But I love also the elements of how do you talk to yourself? How do you engage others? Because I do think dream think doers, we are often the first ones to offer help. We're not always quick to receive it, but
Yeah.
it's also that what you just said, you've got support. So you reach out. And I think, we realize, and we've talked about this before, that so often when we reach out for help, that does, it's oftentimes gets us solutions, encouragement as we need them, but it also gives those around us permission to do the same, right?
Yes.
Like that's great leadership. That's love is
Hope
when
is
we're
contagious.
that's exactly right. I love it. Oh my gosh, we could talk for hours. This is so great. We're gonna have you come back. All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask you a question. I'm gonna do a little commercial for you, and then I'll let you answer it. I don't.
Okay.
You're not gonna need the time, but I'm gonna give it to you anyway. So as you're as somebody is thinking about this, Dream Think Doers, I know they're probably already on Amazon buying your book, but as they're thinking about all that we've been talking about, these 5 habits. What's one last thing? What's one last encouragement you want to send them out with? Okay. I'll let you think about that. Guys, we've been talking with Dr. Julia Garcia. Is she not the bomb? She's the bomb. Now, Dr. J, her book is The 5 Habits of Hope. And seriously, go grab it. The link will be in the show notes. You'll be able to grab it. You can grab it wherever you get books, but it is a beautiful book. Go grab it for the holidays for yourself, but also grab it as a gift. People will be like, wow, because it's really cool and it's color on the inside, all this stuff. I love good design and it's check, 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 all these things. So you will be proud of it. So go grab it. And you can find out more about Dr. Julia at drjuliagarcia.com. Okay. All that stuff will be in the notes, but I just wanted to do that. A little advertisement for you. So, all right, Dr. J, what's that last thing? What's that last little bit of encouragement you want to offer Dream Think doers as we're wrapping up today?
Okay, so I feel prompted to do this. I have not done this on any podcast yet,
Oh, I
but
love
I'm
this.
going to share a little spoken word.
There we go. Come on.
Haven't done it yet,
Let's
so we're gonna
go.
go for
Let's
it. All
go.
right,
This is
here
the
we go.
safe place. That's a risk. You're
Yes,
taking a
I'm
risk.
taking a
Come
risk,
on.
and
I
you might
love it.
reject me, y'all. But we're
Nobody's
gonna go
rejected
for it.
here. Everybody just leaned into their speaker. I love
All
it.
right, here we go. You are worth being seen, despite what anyone, even the madness inside of your mind, will say. And that pain you feel, you don't have to deny is real. But pain is not a place we have to stay. We get a say in how our story gets rewritten. So don't deny yourself the dreams that keep you up at night. We don't choose what happens to us, but we can decide if we come equipped to fight. With words as our weapons, words written, spoken, praised, and prayed, every last syllable gets laid between your voice and the choice to lay it all out into the open. So long as you don't stop hoping. Believe you belong, because when you lose your sense of self-worth, you stop investing in your own value, and your value exchange creates the cultural change that changes stories, even the ones stolen or lost, because every time you hold back, listener, it will cost the generation behind you. So let your difference be what makes a difference, and get out of your own way. Speak everything that you are afraid to say.
I don't hype stuff, but we've done 430. I think this will be 439 episodes. That's one of my favorite moments in Dream Think Do. I love that. I love that you took that risk, and I absolutely love that, just the specific things you said. That was extra special. So thank you so much for risking
Thank
and
you.
for bringing so much gold today. You are the bomb. I do. I just hope everybody has one of these in their Christmas stockings, because we need more hope, and it needs to be real, and it needs to be tactical. It needs to be grounded. And yeah, so I'm just so grateful for you, and I'm glad we had this conversation when we did.
Thank you so much.